Local 4 is committed to defending the environment. Help Me Hank continues to dig deeper on the toxic ooze investigation and won't stop.
Somebody needs to be held responsible for the lack of work that was done.
Defender Karen Drew fights for justice, making sure the people behind the Detroit River contamination concerns clean up their act.
We know it's contaminated soil.
Another violation.
Meet the people affected by two big threats and see what's next in their investigations. Defending the Environment, a Local 4 special event. Tonight at 8, only on 4.
Big week for Governor Whitmer. She not only delivered the Democratic response to the President's State of the Union address from Lansing, she also delivered her budget for the new year. Now, it's just the governor's version. It still has to come together with a legislative version, but it tells us something about the starting point and about her priorities. Let's talk about it with Kathy Gray, the political reporter here for the Detroit Free Press, and Richard Burr, the assistant city editor for the Detroit News. Thanks, both of you, for being here. We, of course, have to start with roads. It was the centerpiece of her campaign. She didn't get anywhere with her gas tax, Kathy, and now she's come back. She wants to go with she's talking about this bond issue, but nothing in the budget about roads. Is that incongruent?
Kind of, but she says it's up to the legislature to come up with a long-term fix for it. And she's come up with the short-term fix to deal with immediate needs to fix roads and bridges with this bonding issue that's already passed the State Transportation Commission. And now she's saying it's up to you guys. Bring it on. A
little bit of an end around that she was able to do with the bond, but she's already hearing from a whole bunch of Republican lawmakers, especially those in rural areas, because the bond issue, Richard, can only be used for state highways and roads and not for local roads, which is a lot of the problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, her argument has always been that some of the state trunk lines are actually in more desperate need of repairs than some of the local roads. But she's still saying, I'm just trying to take care of some of the short-term stuff, some of the worst stuff now that I can do unilaterally. I'm going to continue to work on a longer range thing. But I mean, both sides are pretty intractable right now. It's going to take a while, but I will say this, in the budget there is $205 million extra for roads this year. About $132 million of that was required by a 2015 law. Right, so there's a minor kind of patch amount of money in there to do a little more, but still the big chunk is still waiting to be done.
Another headline grabber here, Kathy, was we are seeing a per pupil spending boost that we have not seen in, I think at least her folks are saying it's the biggest increase we've seen in education spending in 20 years.
Well, and everybody likes to see a boost in education, but one of the things that she's...
But not everybody likes to see a boost in spending.
That's true.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she's doing that she's going to run into trouble with is proposing a weighted formula for it, which would provide districts that are in that have greater needs, at-risk kids, special education, things like that. And she tried the weighted formula last year. Governor Snyder tried the weighted formula before too, and the Republicans have kind of rejected that because, again, it kind of continues with this narrative that perhaps more money is going to urban districts rather than rural districts. But one thing that the budget director, Chris Gold, pulled out was a map that was all green and it showed where the most need was, and a lot of it was up in the UP and along the west side of the state. It's not just urban areas.
Richard, just speaking of Governor Snyder, during the campaign, she complained bitterly, Governor Whitmer did, about the pension tax. And yet here we are, her second budget, and no plans to repeal it, and a number of seniors are already howling that they feel betrayed.
Well, I think it's one of these things where after the big budget fight last year, with the Republicans, she was going to kind of go with her main priorities, and she may have read the tea leaves and decided that one of the Republican leaders wasn't up for doing a pension tax repeal. So I think it's still one of those issues that's going to hang out there, and she campaigned on trying to get it repealed. It may come up in a final deal. I mean, sometimes stuff that isn't in the February budget turns up in the June or July final document.
And she's also talked about a bill that's out there that would repeal part of the corporate tax that was passed during Snyder's first year in office in exchange for the pension tax, because otherwise it blows a pretty big hole in the budget.
Well, I should keep pointing out there's horse trading to be done here. This is just the starting point, as I mentioned earlier. There's also a fair amount of spending for the environment, and she said one of her three priorities in this is making sure everybody's got clean water to drink. We've watched all these environmental problems bubbling popping up all over the place, especially in southeast Michigan the last couple of weeks.
Well, she put in $20 million for a rapid response for the environmental issues, kind of like the green ooze that's coming out of 696 to deal with stuff like that. She also has put in $40 million for problems that have been caused by the high water levels along the Great Lakes, but also on inland lakes and with sewer treatment plants that are getting flooded and roads that are getting flooded and stuff. But $40 million is very little.
Doesn't seem to go very far anymore. One of the areas, Richard, where I think a lot of Michiganders felt like they can, because it's something that we see, we relate to, was the Pure Michigan campaign. It probably got outsized attention, but because it is one that people, it's very accessible to most of us. She's put some of the money back in.
Yeah, so she's, it was $37.5 million. She basically vetoed it in an attempt to try to get Republicans to come back to the table on road funding and other issues. She's now proposing $15 million, which is about 40% of what they used to have. Of course, the tourism industry is still kind of dismayed because they figure they're being left out in the wind, and it's not real clear how much the Speaker Chatfield and Mike Shirkey, the Senate leader, want to do on this. Shirkey kind of suggested last fall that, hey, maybe this is something, if it's something that benefits businesses, maybe they should be funding most of it or part of it.
We all expected a certain amount of felicity with legislative issues from Governor Whitmer, having been the former Senate Minority Leader. However, term limits means she doesn't really have relationships with many of the people now that she's in. So as we wrap up, give me sort of your status report on how the governor's doing with dealing with a very unruly and not necessarily friendly legislature.
Well, she's still meeting with them on a regular basis. She has the quadrant meetings with the 4 leaders of the House and the Senate, so those are still going on. I would say that there's a uneasy détente there that they're trying to do, but I don't. Well, we'll see how this budget shakes out.
Richard's not near as friendly as it was up on Mackinac Island when they first had that big group hug on the porch.
Right. Well, I think it's one of these things where you have major philosophical divides in the parties, and it's reflected in how things are done. And she's been combative in tone, and it hasn't helped that Mike Shirkey kind of made a really bad comment about her in response. And so I think they're still trying to get past that.
We'll see where it goes. Thanks for the primer, you two. We really appreciate it. When we come back, what's the truth about vaping? This is Flashpoint on Local 4.